Hello, I'm Simulator Dirk and welcome to Simulator Dirk Trade Simulator. We are in Hamburg in Germany today. We're about to be playing with the Intercity Express, the ICEy. Then this is the ICEy 3 model. We'll be going from Hamburg and we'll be heading out of here very, very shortly. One of the reasons why we're going to feature this trade now is that I have found another reskin that uses this model that we'll be featuring towards the end of the episode. And also, in addition to that, Train Sim World 2 is coming out very, very soon, and this train is one of the trains that will be one of the launch trains for Train Sim World 2. So just like we did with the Cal train between San Francisco and San Jose, the peninsula route, just as we did that with Train Sim World, we're going to compare. It won't necessarily be this route, but it'll be this train that we will be comparing. Anywho, we are just about ready for departure, so let's get into the cab. Clear signals, and let's load and unload our passengers. Let's have a look on the platform. I can't see any doors open. This is the rear of the train. We'll have a look at the front. I can't see any doors open. So here we are in Hamburg. We'll try and open the passenger doors again. It doesn't seem to allow us to open the passenger doors. We'll go into the cab. We will put our reverse start to forward. We will take the brakes off. And we'll give a little bit of power, so a bit of a slow start out of Hamburg, 40 to start with, and then we'll continue things from there. 62.5 kilometers our journey, our non-stop journey to Lübeck. And let's see how we go. I had a look at a stream that the developers of Train Sim World 2, Dovetail Games, which is also the same company that makes Train Simulator, the other day, and the amount of complexity for this particular train in Train Sim World 2, it's going to be amazing what you can actually do, and how they've managed to recreate all the signalling systems. Has different sort of signalling systems depending on where you are on the network and how fast you're going. If you're in a high speed section, or if you're in a section such as this, there's actually cruise control that helps the drivers at higher speed. And the train itself is actually doing a lot of work for the driver, as should be expected at those high rates of speed. So we're still in the 40 zone at the moment as we leave Hamburg and we head to Lübeck. One of the interesting things that you can do, I don't think you can do it on this model, but you can certainly do it. I've seen it demonstrated on Train Sim World 2. Immediately, I'll just shut off here because we are doing 40 now. There's a glass partition immediately behind the driver that separates the driver from the passengers. Now, the driver can choose to have that particular glass partition clear or frosted. So basically like a privacy screen. So if you don't want the passengers to see what you're doing, maybe it might be procedure, I'm not sure. You can actually flick a switch and the glass changes state and you can no longer see through it, and vice versa. So we've gone into a 60 zone now, so we can increase. I'm not sure if that's the actual procedure, or if there's an actual procedure in relation to that. There's a procedure for a lot of other things on railways, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was a procedure for when the glass had to be frosted and when it had to be when it has to be clear. Some of it might also have to do with distractions of the driver as well, sort of thing. So I see another train coming towards us. There's a lot of local trains that also local and regional trains, such as that one. It's 100 zone coming up very, very shortly, so we'll be able to stretch out just a little bit, stretch the legs of the ICEy. Just see a freight loco just idling away on the left hand side, just waiting for the rear of the train to come into the 100 zone, which it has now, so we can open up and give the train some throttle, give it some jandle. And it'll get up to speed quite quickly. So we'll just shut off now. We're fractionally over. We're about to come into a 120 zone. Jeez, you're close to the edge of the platform, my friend. Lucky the train wasn't going full pelt, or that bloke might not be standing there, if you get my drift. Okay, rear the train into the 120 zone now. So we can open the throttle up again, but not for too long. Doesn't take long for this train to get up to speed. Surprising some level crossings, although we are in suburban Hamburg at the moment. We're not into the German countryside just yet. Have been to Germany a couple of times. I did a day trip from Amsterdam to Frankfurt, basically because it was there. So for an Australian guy who, when he goes overseas, I like to do big trips, and I like in Europe that it's quite easy to cross from one country to the other inside the EU, as long as you've got your passport and you're all good for the EU. You can basically, at the time that I was over there, some things may have changed, some things may have changed since then. I know Brexit's probably got something to do with it. As long as you've got your passport and your suite, you carry it on, you can go anywhere you want within the EU. So this one particular day, I had done a few days in Amsterdam by this point, and I thought, okay, well, let's go somewhere international. And let's just go down to the main station at Amsterdam Central and let's just jump on a train, the first international train that we can get, and let's go somewhere. I'm about to come into a 160 zone. $160 now. So we'll throttle up. We'll give you a look now from the outside as we're cruising through at speed. pick up the throttle just a little bit. So this one particular day I went to Amsterdam Central and the first international train that I can get off, because I didn't want to be away all day. I just want to do a little day trip, you know, just a couple of hours each way sort of thing, you know, not necessarily use the whole day. First international train that I could get when I went down to Amsterdam Central, I went to Brussels. So that's a good little introduction. Then on the Saturday, I decided to do it again, but this time I saw, now I might have actually looked this one up, but I saw that there was a direct train from Amsterdam to Frankfurt. So that was quite sweet. That was quite sweet on a ICEy. So I spent a couple of hours in Frankfurt, which was nice. Just walked around the city, that sort of thing. Didn't explore much of the city. I was only there for a couple of hours. But on the way back, we couldn't get a direct train, so we had to get 2 or 3 trains on the way back. And I remember having a look at the timetable, and there was this one particular place where we had to change trains, and the way that the itinerary was set out was that we'd just missed the train that we had to connect with, and the next train was in an hour. But the train that we were connecting with was a local train, so we didn't need, that was the one that took us all the way back to Amsterdam. So this train that we connected with was a local train, so we didn't need reservation. So I figured if we don't need a reservation, if we manage to make the train, the earlier train, well, we'll do that, because I don't want to just hang around somewhere on a Saturday night for an hour for no reason if I can get a connecting train. And the from what I can remember, the connection was relatively easy, so we did make the earlier train. So I got back to Amsterdam an hour earlier than what the plan was. So we're coming up to a 120 zone, so we should start to brake now. So we'll just calm down just a little bit more, just to make sure that we are hitting the 120 speed at the 120 board. We're doing that rather nicely at the moment. Okay, there's the 120 board there. Even though I just said 12, that's what it means, 120. So we'll just stick on this speed for the moment. So I've got to say, the ICEy was absolutely a fantastic train to be on, as a lot of the high-speed trains in Europe are. Another high-speed train that I enjoyed there, and that we'll actually be seeing at the end of this trip, is the Eurostar. Now, we've got another 160 board coming up, that's fine, we'll just stay here for the moment. Just a little bit under, but we've got some forward momentum, so we'll just go through these points here, etc. The Eurostar, spoke about it on a previous episode. My one trip on the Eurostar, that was another fantastic trip. The Eurostar from Paris to London. Now there is no official Eurostar in Train Simulator, and some of it has to do with licensing and that sort of stuff, and also that they might not necessarily have the route for it. That could be part of the thing as well. So I managed to find a reskin, which is a reskin of the train that we're actually on now. We can go back up to 160 now. It's a reskin of the train that we're on, because a lot of these high-speed trains, they are of a similar type. As we explored in the Azuma themed episodes, all the trains weren't known as Azuma. One of the operators called their train the Azuma, but the others didn't. But that's just the way that I classified it for the episodes, and that's a classic example of a similar looking train operating in different locations, different names, different colour schemes, all of that sort of stuff. But it is basically the same train. So what we'll do after we finish this run, I'll show you the Eurostar. So we've got about 36 kilometres to go on this particular trip. We may not hit extremely high speed. Maybe 160 might actually be it. I did also purchase the Frankfurt high speed route, but I've had some troubles running that today. For one reason or another, I don't exactly know. I haven't been able to narrow that down at this point, but it would have been unusable. So that was the route that I was hoping to run this episode on, but unfortunately that hasn't worked. 100 zone, oh crap. I wasn't paying attention, I was too busy having a yak. Let's slow it down. So yeah, massively long. So we're bringing the speed down nicely without being too hard on the brakes. It's a massively long unit. We've got the train pretty much under control now, just in time to hit a 160 board. But yeah, that was just me not paying attention, so we can bring it up to speed again. I believe this is a double ICEy 3 consist. Should actually have a look while we're here. I'll back off the power shortly, but we'll just have a look down the train. There's the buffet car. We can just shut off now. We'll continue looking down the train. Yeah, it's a double consist, so we can see here the two trains joined together, and the back end of it there. So quite a long train. So this is rather fast. This game was rather fast paced, 160 kilometers an hour. you know, you can do more on some other routes and that sort of thing. But one train related game that I've been playing recently, I've just got into after purchasing it a couple of weeks ago, is a game called Train Station Renovation, and you'll be able to find that on simulatorgaming.com and also on the Simulator YouTube channel on the Train Station Renovation playlist. And to me, it's a calm game. It's just, you know, there's no speed associated to it whatsoever. You can just go along, do whatever you feel like doing. For instance, I dedicated one episode. You are given the job of basically cleaning up a train station. So there's a whole heap of, you know, might be a whole heap of rubbish, disused furniture, graffiti, things that aren't needed anymore, broken windows, broken doors, you name it, it's there. So you have to work out how you're going to go about renovating your station. So the first thing you'd have to do is clean the station. So you're just basically cleaning everything, so cleaning all the rubbish up and everything like that, because the stations have been disused. 120 zone coming up, so we'll start to apply some brakes. Almost just braked a little bit too late. Whoa, there's 60 coming up. I didn't see that 60 coming. Better slow right down. We're still 23 k's away from our destination. Oh, that was a engine only or a light engine, depending on. So we'll continue to brake. That's the reason for our 60 k's an hour. We're crossing onto another line. This is what happens when you're not paying attention, don't have the route knowledge. Okay, we can stop braking now. And also when you're having a yak. So the idea of train station simulation, you basically clean the station up first, and then once you've done that, you decide what facilities the passengers need, so you can hand the station back over to the new operator. So things like seats, toilets, ticket machines, information screens, vending machines, all that sort of thing. So we're just going to wait for the whole train to come into the 120 zone that is coming up. It'll be coming up here shortly. Once the whole train hits the 120 zone, we can open up the throttle again. So it's a quite calm, relaxing sort of game. Before I knew it, I'd recorded 4 episodes in a row, just basically based on, you know, a couple of hours of recording, and I renovated the first station quite nicely, I thought. So a little bit of a change of pace. Also, Bus Mechanic Simulator, really getting into that game as well. The idea of that sort of game is basically just to repair buses. You're given a list of things that are wrong with the bus at the stage that I am playing. At the stage that I am at the moment, I'm basically getting simple things and one thing at a time. But I have seen ahead. I've been watching some other people play, so I know what I'm doing and what I can look forward to. And there's things that, you know, there's three or four things on the list that you need to, you know, bring the bus in and then you're given the list, and then it's a case of, well, okay, this is broken, that needs to be fixed, that's connected to that, so I might have to disconnect this to get to the actual part that I need, and then I have to find the part, and I found some good tips of how to actually find the parts that I'll be looking forward to explaining in the next episode of that, and then putting the bus back together, and then seeing if I've actually completed the task successfully. So we're continuing to power on. We've got just under 20 k's to go now before our station stop. Lots of high-speed sections of the line in Germany. This isn't necessarily high speed. See some wind farms on the left-hand side. In some places in Germany, when you're on a train such as the ICEy, you can actually tell on the internal displays how fast the train is going. And it's one thing to be told that you're doing, or to be shown on the screen that you're doing 250 kilometres an hour while you're on a train on the ground. And then you are looking over towards the countryside and you're seeing things whiz past you, like we're just doing 115 at the moment, which is the speed that I'm used to doing. Here in Australia, I'm used to doing that particular speed, and you see that things go past you relatively quickly. But when you're doing 200 k's plus, and you see cars on a country road, that, you know, they look like they're standing still. Or you see fence posts or signposts and they absolutely zoom by all these stanchions that you can see alongside the train holding up the wires. You're looking out the window, or we've got a station coming up, Rheinfeld coming up, and you go through a station like this at a high rate of speed. Yellow line. Well, actually, it's not yellow. It's white, but you get the idea. So I don't think we're going to get it to any super high speeds. Maybe 160 might be it. As we are about 14 k's away from Lübeck now. Really looking forward to Train Sim World 2 and to see this train and how detailed the controls are. Also, London Underground, the Bakerloo line, that's going to be fantastic as well. You'll be able to drive the entire Bakerloo line. You won't necessarily be able to drive the whole line that they have modelled in for the ICE. You can drive a portion of that line. That has been one of the criticisms of Train Sim World, that you might say, oh, you're going to drive, XYZ line, and then when you actually come down to do it, it'll be a case of, oh, well, you can drive halfway over there. You can drive half the XYZ line, and then you hand over to another driver. And of course, you don't get to see that part because they haven't modelled that part. Whereas the technology behind Train Simulator, being older technology, different engine, generally lower speeds, and not as detailed, you can go further, basically. And a classic example is the Train Sim World episodes of the Peninsula Corridor. I haven't been able to go all the way from San Francisco to San Jose yet. So I'll have to do some more reading into that one. Under 10Ks to go now. We'll go for another look outside. And the great thing about trains such as this is that anywhere along the route, if there's two different routes that a train can take, this long train in the common section could easily split into two, and you've got all the facilities in each half of the train. Like you've got the buffet car and the first class cars and all of that sort of stuff in both ends of the train. So when the train splits in half, you've got all the facilities in both ends. Whereas I can remember being on Amtrak trains in America, and admittedly it was early in the morning, overnight when this happened, so it didn't necessarily affect me as much as it could have. When the train divided into two, and one went one way and one went the other way, one of the halves didn't have a buffet car in it. Uh-oh, what's that noise? I don't know what that noise was. Got a 90 zone coming up, so we'll start to brake for that. That should do us for the moment. I've just unlocked an achievement. I think that's what that noise was. Like I used to go around chasing achievements, and then I thought, nah, there's just too many on all the different routes that I've purchased and all of that sort of thing. So we're just out of the 90 zone, so we'll be able to come onto the 90 zone rather nicely. We're 5.5 kilometres away now from Lubeck, so the high speed running is basically over at this particular point in time. So I'm not in any major hurry because I've got this 90 board coming up. We'll be coming onto platform 12 in just under 5 kilometres time, so we'll start to see a little bit of suburbia coming back now. I had some water as we went over the river there, which was interesting. So just cruising on nicely. We've got one more signal before we hit Lubeck platform, and we've got no further speed zone changes. So we can just stay around this 90 kilometre an hour limit at the moment. When we get a little bit closer, we can start to bring the speed down. Green light on the signal, so we're sweet. We've got no more signals now between us and the platform once we pass here. Well, gee, okay, so that's the last signal. It looked like there were a couple of signals, but that was the last one. So we'll start to brake as we're coming into the station very, very shortly. Now I'm not sure, I can't see the platform just yet. Actually, no, we're coming into platform. Sorry, we're coming into platform 5. Platform 5. I just passed over track 12 on the map down below. Actually, no, I can't see the station's 2.5 k's away, so I may have spoken too soon. There is a 60 coming up. I thought that was the station on the map, but it's not. So we'll got a 60 board coming up, so we'll just come in nice and calmly there. One more. No, that might not be the station either coming up on the map on the bottom of the screen. Just over 2 kilometres away now, before the station. I've got a long train, so I'll take it's another regional train. Okay, I can see the platform on the map now. We're about 1,400 metres away, so we'll start to brake just a little bit coming in. Looks like there's a depot or a workshop coming up here on the left hand side. Station should be coming into view very, very shortly. So we're in a 50 zone now. Station coming up. And just after that big bridge. A couple of trains just having a rest. Just going through some points. There's the station. There's lots of spectacular major railway stations in German cities. I also went to Berlin. I think, yeah, Berlin was the first time I went to Germany. It was fantastic. Being able to go into what was West Germany and East Germany, West Berlin, East Berlin. At the time, Checkpoint Charlie, going on a tour, learning more about the Berlin Wall and where it ran and how it divided Berlin and Germany into two. It was quite fascinating. And the public transport, there's certainly a lot of public transport in Berlin to enjoy as well. So we'll go right to the end of the platform. And we have arrived. Oh, now it wants to open the doors. I didn't want to open the doors in Hamburg, but now it has. So we have arrived safely, and I hope you have enjoyed that section. We'll be back in a few moments, and we're going to go for a ride on the Eurostar. Back soon. Kings and Queens, here we go. So we're at Atlantic Terminal. I'm assigned the 1228 to which looks like here on now. Engineering work at Locust Manor means this service is only running as far as Jamaica. Okay, so to walk We have to walk towards the other end of the train. Okay, so we'll get into our cab. We'll close that door. And Anthony's sitting in the engineer's seat. Sit in the engineer's seat of the train. You are sitting in the engineer's seat. Am I sitting on the wrong train? Let's see what happens. No, it's not going to let me sit in the engineer's seat. What is going on? I am the engineer. What's going on? Hello. It told me to go this way. Now, hang on. What? Am I even on the wrong train? I could be on the wrong train. And that was great timing. Really enjoyed putting that particular promo together, and I got to say, I think I did a fairly good job with the editing on that one. And you know, oh my god, I'm walking down the platform, the train's coming in, I'm pretty sure this is my train. Opening the cab, finding a lady sitting in the driver's seat. Uh-oh, is this my train? What are you doing here? I am here, this should be my train. No, it's not. Better start running towards my train. And it was a rather excellent promo to put together. That was a little bit of fun that I had on a recent episode of Train Sim World. Anywho, we are about to depart for Hamburg. We're basically doing the trip in the reverse direction, so we can open the doors this time, turn on the lights. Okay, so now for this train, I'll leave a link on the show notes at simulatorgaming.com and also in the description of the YouTube video. You will need to have the ICEy 3 model, which is payware. you will need to have that base model that we just spent 45 minutes on. You will need that for this to work, and I'll leave a link to where you can actually get the skin online. It is a free download, the actual skin, although the ICEy 3 base model is a Steam product that you can that you have to pay for. Brakes off, reverser into forward, and let's go. So 60 to start off with. I'm relatively confident that's what the 6 means at the top of that particular signal. I am no I'm no guru when it comes to German signalling and that sort of thing. So you can actually download the skin for free off the internet and install it into Train Simulator if you are confident in doing so. Just like the various skins that we saw on the Azuma episodes. There's a loco hauled train just sitting in the yard in between runs. That could be one of the night trains that operates, or maybe it's a peak hour only train that they use. So we're heading back towards Hamburg. So it's the same model. It can either be 8 cars or 16 cars, as we saw on the ICEy. The cab, fairly basic if you want to use the controls yourself. The one on Train Sim World 2, I've seen gameplay of that, and that cab is exquisite. So we'll just shut off for now. We're just about to come into a 90 zone. So we can open it up a little bit now. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time actually just sitting in the cab, because the main thing, of course, that I wanted to show you was the skin and how effectively it does look like the Eurostar. Now there's the main route that the Eurostar is famous for, going between London and Paris. It is also possible to come from places such as Amsterdam on the Eurostar and then go directly into London from there, and there's some connections as well. I know when I was over in Europe 2011, 2014, there was talk and planning of extending the Eurostar from places in Europe other than Paris at that time. But so it looks like a pretty sweet skin, doesn't it? About to come into a 120 zone, so we'll open her up in just a moment. Waiting to come into the 120 zone. So looking at the Eurostar website, Eurostar.com, to see where you can go between London and Paris, Brussels, Lille, Disneyland Paris, the south of France and Calais, as well as the connecting destinations in France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Germany, with an easy change of train in either Paris, Lille or Brussels. Okay, 120 zone now, so we'll just open the throttle up and too hot. Only can do 120. I'll just shut off. Okay, so just to give you a little bit further information, the London terminus is St Pancras International. Other stations in Britain that the train calls at Ebbsfleet International and Ashford International in Kent. Intermediate calling points in France are Calais and Lille, with trains to Paris terminating at Gare du Nord. Trains to Belgium terminate at Midi Zoord station in Brussels, which is where I caught the Eurostar to first of all. No, sorry, I didn't catch the Eurostar, I caught another train to Brussels initially. The only intermediate calling station in the Netherlands is Rotterdam Central, and trains terminate at Amsterdam Central. There are direct services from London to Disneyland Paris, direct services to southern France, Lyon, Avignon and Marseille, and seasonal direct services to the French Alps in winter, December through to April. So the Eurostar dates back to 1986 for the concept of the Channel Tunnel. Construction began on that in 1988, and the official opening was in 1994. And there's actually there's tunnels for trains and there's tunnels for passenger trains, and there's tunnels for freight trains. Oh gee, okay, that's interesting. The other train coming in the other direction. And there's some tunnels used for freight trains, and the freight trains are fully enclosed, and semi-trailers can drive onto there, trucks can drive onto there, and use the Eurotunnel as well. Quite an interesting process of how that actually how that actually happens. So in 1994, the Eurostar began running from Waterloo International in London to Gare du Nord and to Brussels South Railway in Brussels. In 1995, Eurostar was achieving an average end-to-end speed of 171.5 kilometres an hour, or 106.6 miles per hour from London to Paris. And services began running from St Pancras International in November 2007. On 30th of July 2003, a Eurostar train set a new British speed record of 334.7 kilometres or 208 miles an hour on the first section of the high-speed 1 railway between the Channel Tunnel and Falkland Junction in northern Kent. That was on a test run before public services began. And it also set a record in 2006 for the longest non-stop high-speed journey, a distance of 1,421 kilometres or 883 miles from London to Cairns, as in where the Cairns Film Festival is, 7 hours and 25 minutes. And there were also plans for Eurostar to start in Paris and run to places north of London as well, but they didn't necessarily happen. They were going to call them regional Eurostar. And also there was plans for an overnight night star sleeper train as well. So no services operated there. So quite an interesting experience. High-speed train travel in Europe, that's for sure. The closest I've come to that in Australia was when I was on the electric tilt trains in Queensland, which run between Brisbane and Rockhampton. You can go just over 200 kilometres an hour on those. But this is the Eurostar skin of the ICEy. So while this route isn't accurate, the colours, the skin certainly is. You can see the skin to full effect there. There's our driver, nicely attired in his shirt and tie. Gee, I wish I'd known that train was coming. So we're about 15 minutes away from Hamburg, as we saw on the trip on the way up earlier. We saw that the highest speed we can do is 160. There is a 160 zone actually coming up. What I will do is just open the throttle and see how fast we can go once we hit this 160. The main reason that I was bringing you the train, or this particular train, is so you can see the reskin more than anything else. Okay, 160 zone coming up. Look, there's the 16 board for 160. We'll just wait for the train to go fully into the zone, which will be very, very shortly. Okay, 160. Let's just open her up and see how fast she can go. So we've just passed the 160 mark. Now I know that in real life the ICEy and also the Eurostar can go a lot higher than 160. We'll just see how fast we can actually go on this 160 kilometre an hour section of track. Got a station coming up. 193, 195, 196. We should be able to hit the 200 in a moment. There's 200. Now this of course isn't to say that this section of track in real life would be good for 210 kilometres an hour, and the track could well be good for 200. However, for passenger comfort and to try and reduce the maintenance requirements, they may restrict it to 160, even though the train may be capable of that, and the tracks might be more than capable. Some of the constraints too could be signalling as well. Just about to hit 230. 230 now. Certainly a big difference in the noise inside of the cab and outside of the cab. Just about to hit 240. There's another train. Whoosh! Yeah. That's another thing too that you have to consider as well. The how different trains pass each other at speed, that sort of thing. Now I'm just going to see just how fast it can go. Just about to approach 250. So 250 kilometres an hour, and we are still climbing. Now, it was round about episode 24 of Simulated Oak Train Simulator, which was so long ago, where we actually had a whole heap of trains. I just run them on a section of high-speed track in China, in simulated China, of course, just to see how fast the trains can actually run. Now, of course, I didn't have trains such as this at that time. We've got a 60 zone coming up. We're still climbing, 266. I'm just going to see what happens here. Hopefully I won't have to put a warning on this. 270 in a 60, crossing over from one track to another. 270, got through that fine, surprisingly. Back to 120 zone, 273 kilometres an hour. We're still 20 kilometres away from Hamburg, our destination. About to cross into 160. It's like I've sped the footage up. I haven't sped the footage up. I was tempted to. 277 kilometres an hour, 278. See if we can hit 280. Just because a train has a maximum top speed doesn't necessarily mean that that maximum top speed is what it will reach in service. Even if the tracks are capable of it, sometimes they do keep the in-service top speed and the actual top speed, they keep them different for various reasons. 280 now. I've got a feline visitor at my feet. Hello, meow. Right hand bend. 285. Can we hit 300 by the time we hit Hamburg? We shouldn't be far off. 286. Our first target is 290. Now, needless to say, this would be rather uncomfortable for the passengers. Another loco all by itself going out for a run. 289. 289. Can we hit 290? Can we hit 290? We're pretty flat. There's 290. So I don't think we're going to hit, we've still got 10 Ks to go before we hit Hamburg. I don't think we're going to hit 300, although it's going to be close. 291. 292. Wow, how this train hasn't come off the tracks at some of these speeds, I have no idea. We're in 120 zone. 293. Coming up to Hasselbrook in a moment. Now this is just insanity at this point. It's like the thing's running on rails. We're 5 kilometres away. 295. Can we reach 300? Curves. Big curve coming up. 60 zone coming up. And we have just... Wow. Train derailment due to consist tilt. Gee, really? A game over error. It's just going to keep on. It's just going to keep on doing laps like this. I'm going to start to get very, very dizzy. Speeding 5 times. I just sped continuously. We travelled a fair bit on that Eurostar. Wow, that was quite violent. That was about 295 kilometres an hour. I'm going to have to put a warning at the very end of that one. Anywho, I am Simulator Dirk. We didn't quite make it to Hamburg, and that's why you don't speed. That was actually quite graphic, the way that it showed just showed the train just all over the shop. That's high speed. That's you know, that's people dead territory, and you know, not to be encouraged, but yeah, that's not good. Anywho, I am Simulator Dirk. Thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the episode. Notes in the show notes for the Eurostar skin, and I will see you next time. Simulator Dirk. Bye for now. Stay behind the yellow line, and don't forget, tracks are for trains.